everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that's both kind of silly and super profound.
Oh, yeah.
Just how big can a human get?
Hmm.
Now, we all know people are taller on average than they were like a century ago.
Right.
But what if we wanted to go way beyond that? Like, could we engineer a human 10 times our size? Vsauce actually has some cool insights on this that we're going to dig into.
Yeah, what's interesting is we're kind of already seeing evidence of hitting like a genetic limit with height.
Really?
Like, think about it. We've had better nutrition and healthcare for over 150 years.
Mm.
And yeah, we've grown taller, but it's not like this crazy huge leap. We've had individuals like Robert Wadlow. He reached 8'11".
Wow.
And Sultan Kozan, the tallest living person right now. He's 8'3".
That's incredible.
Yeah, they're amazing examples, but they also kind of show us the challenges of like extreme growth.
Yeah, those heights are mind-boggling. But I've always wondered, why is there a limit at all? Is it just like bones and muscles not being strong enough?
It's way more than that. It boils down to this principle called the square cube law.
The square cube law.
Yeah. Think about an ant for a second. They can carry many times their weight, right?
Right.
But if you scale that ant up to the size of a human, its legs would instantly buckle.
Oh.
That's because when you increase an object's size, its volume grows way faster than its surface area. So if we were like 10 times larger, our bones and muscles would need to be unbelievably dense and strong just to support all that extra mass.
Whoa, okay. So basically being a giant human is like trying to build a skyscraper on the foundation of a sandcastle.
Exactly.
It just wouldn't work.
We need a totally different body structure, something more like the giraffe. It's the largest land animal with a complete skeleton that we've ever found.
Huh.
Think about their proportions. Long necks, thick legs. Their bodies were built to handle that massive size.
So it seems like there's like a physical limit to how big we can get on land. What about in the water? I mean, we've got massive creatures like blue whales just swimming around.
Yes, water provides buoyancy, which helps counteract the effects of gravity. That's why the blue whale, the heaviest animal known at like a whopping 177,000 kilograms, can even exist.
Wow.
If it were on land, it would just be crushed under its own weight.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So while we're probably not going to be land-dwelling giants, maybe there's potential for some underwater gigantism.
Okay, so physically getting bigger might be off the table. But what if we thought about size in a totally different way? You know, not just about our physical dimensions, but about the reach we have beyond our bodies. Like how much space can our voice fill or how far can our scent travel?
That's a fantastic point. And Vsauce actually touches on this very concept. Imagine this. You're in a huge empty room and you let out a shout. How far do you think that sound could actually travel before someone couldn't hear it anymore?
That's a tough one. I know sound waves lose energy as they travel, but I wouldn't think they'd fade away that quickly. Maybe a few kilometers.
You're on the right track. The loudest human shout could probably reach around 5 kilometers before becoming inaudible. It's pretty impressive when you think about it. But it also highlights the limitations of sound. And of course, if we're talking about the vast emptiness of space, sound doesn't travel at all.
Yeah.
Because there's no air for the sound waves to move through.
Right. So there's definitely a limit to our sound size, at least on Earth. What about sight? How far could someone actually see another person with the naked eye?
Well, here on Earth, the horizon puts a cap on that. It limits our visibility to about 5 kilometers. But what's interesting is that even in the vacuum of space with perfect conditions, you could only see another person up to about 10 to 15 kilometers away.
Really?
And this is where the concept of angular size comes in.
Angular size, I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. Imagine holding your thumb out at arm's length. It covers a small portion of your visual field, right?
Right.
Think about the moon. It looks much bigger. But it only takes up about half a degree of angular size in our field of vision. It all comes down to the angle an object takes up in our eye. And the smaller the angle, the smaller it appears, even if it's physically massive.
Ah, I see. So even though the moon is enormous, because it's so far away, it appears tiny to us. And I guess the same principle applies to seeing a person in space. Even though they're the same size, the further away they are, the smaller they appear, until eventually they're just too small for our eyes to detect.
Precisely. So even in the vastness of space, our visual size is limited.
Okay, so we've talked about sound and sight. Now, this next one might sound a bit strange, but stick with me. What about our sense of smell? Could our scent be considered part of our size?
That's actually a really interesting concept. Think about animals with incredible senses of smell, like bloodhounds or grizzly bears.
Oh, yeah.
They can detect scents over vast distances and long after the source is left. Imagine you're walking through the woods, and a grizzly bear catches your scent from kilometers away. That's a pretty impactful presence, wouldn't you say?
I've never thought about it like that before, but yeah, that makes sense. If a grizzly bear can smell something from, say, 30 kilometers away, that basically creates this huge scent bubble around a person. It's like an invisible extension of themselves.
Exactly. And it challenges us to think beyond our physical boundaries and consider how our senses, even something as subtle as scent, can extend our presence in the world.
So we've explored the limits of our physical size. And we've even considered how our senses, like sound, sight, and smell, can define our size in different ways. But what about things we emit that go even further? Things that can travel beyond the Earth's atmosphere? That's where things get truly mind-blowing, right?
You're absolutely right. And that leads us to the fascinating world of light and electromagnetic radiation, which can travel indefinitely through the vastness of space.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We're talking about the kind of size that could potentially reach across the universe, right?
You got it. But before we journey to the cosmos, let's first consider what kind of light we as humans actually emit. You might be surprised to know that we're not just warm-blooded. We're literally glowing with our own internal clock. Humans emit mostly infrared light, or heat, but we also give off some visible light, with our peak intensity around 4 p.m. each day.
Wait, seriously. So, like, if we had super sensitive night vision goggles, we'd see everyone with a 4 p.m. glow up. That's both cool and slightly creepy. But I thought light needs something to travel through, like air or water. How does our light travel through space if it's a vacuum?
Good question. That's one of the amazing things about light. It doesn't need a medium to travel like sound or scent do. It can travel indefinitely through the vacuum of space. This is why we can see stars billions of light years away. Their light has been traveling through space for billions of years before finally reaching our eyes.
Wow, that puts things in perspective. But what about our light? I mean, obviously we're not as bright as stars, but could our light travel that far too?
It's a fascinating thought, right? And this is where Derek Muller's Veritasium video comes in. He talks about how as you move further and further away from the sun, it eventually becomes a source of individual photons hitting your eyes.
Okay, hold on. You're going to have to break that down for me. What exactly is a photon?
Think of a photon as a tiny packet of light energy. It's the fundamental particle of light. What Derek is saying is that if you keep moving away from the sun, it eventually becomes so small in your field of view that you're no longer seeing it as a big, bright disk. Instead, you're only seeing the individual photons that are reaching your eyes.
So instead of seeing the sun as a whole, you'd just see a bunch of tiny specks of light.
Exactly. Now apply that same concept to humans. If you were to keep moving away from Earth, there would be a point where you could no longer see a human as a whole being. You would only be able to detect the individual photons that they are emitting.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing. So in a way, our light size could be considered infinite. I mean, if those photons can travel forever, isn't a part of us in some sense becoming immortal?
It's a profound thought, isn't it? It challenges our understanding of size and even our own mortality. We often think of ourselves as confined to our physical bodies. But this idea suggests that a part of us, our light, can potentially exist forever. Traveling through the vastness of space.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We started this deep dive talking about the limits of physical size, and now we're contemplating the potential immortality of our light. It just goes to show how these deep dives always lead to unexpected and thought-provoking discoveries.
It's a testament to the power of curiosity and the interconnectedness of knowledge. By exploring seemingly simple questions, we often stumble upon profound insights that change our perspective on ourselves and the universe.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners? We've talked about the limits of physical size, the reach of our senses,
Yeah.
and the potential infinity of our light. It seems like the answer to the question, how big can a human get, is a lot more complicated than we initially thought.
I think the key takeaway here is that size is a relative concept. We can be physically limited, but our influence, our reach, can be far more expansive than we might initially believe. We can have a significant impact through our actions, our ideas, and even our very essence as carried by light.
I love that our essence carried by light. It's a beautiful thought. But I have to ask, if our light can potentially travel forever, does that mean we're constantly being seen by something or someone out there in the universe?
That's a great question, and it leads us into a realm of speculation. We don't know for sure if anyone or anything is out there detecting our light, but it does raise the possibility that we're not as alone as we might think.
Okay, now you're really making me think. It's like, even if we never physically encounter another intelligent civilization, a part of us, our light, could be interacting with them in ways we can't even imagine. And who knows, maybe they're emitting light that's reaching us too.
It's a truly mind-boggling concept, and it highlights how interconnected we are with the universe, even on the most fundamental level of light energy. Our actions, our existence, could be sending ripples through the cosmos, touching places and times we could never fathom.
So what you're saying is, even though we're physically small, we're part of something much bigger.
Absolutely. And that perspective can be incredibly empowering. It reminds us that we all have the potential to make a difference, to leave our mark on the world, even if it's through something as seemingly intangible as a beam of light traveling through space.
This whole deep dive has really shifted my perspective on what it means to be big. It's not just about physical size, it's about the reach of our influence, the depth of our connections, and the lasting impressions we leave on the world.
And those impressions can be profound. Think about the impact of a single kind word, a moment of shared laughter, or a spark of inspiration that ignites someone's imagination. Those seemingly small actions can have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate perception.
It's like throwing a pebble into a pond, right? The ripples spread outward, touching every part of the water surface, even though the pebble itself remains small.
Precisely. And just as those ripples can create beautiful patterns, so too can our actions, however small, contribute to the intricate tapestry of the universe.
It really is incredible to think about the potential impact we can have, even if we never fully grasp its true extent. This whole conversation has definitely given me a new perspective on the idea of making a difference. It's not just about grand gestures, it's about the everyday choices we make, the kindness we offer, and the way we interact with the world around us.
And I think that's a really empowering message to take away from this deep dive. We might be physically limited in some ways, but our potential for influence, for connection, for leaving a positive mark on the universe is vast and perhaps even infinite.
It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? We often get so caught up in the limitations of our physical bodies that we forget about these other dimensions of ourselves, these ways in which we can be so much bigger.
It's a crucial point. We limit ourselves by defining size solely in terms of physical dimensions. This exploration opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, urging us to consider the impact we have through our senses, our actions, and even our very essence as carried by light.
I love how we started this deep dive wondering about the biggest human possible and ended up contemplating the potential immortality of our light and the ripples we create in the universe. It's a perfect example of why I love exploring these big questions with you. We always end up in such unexpected and mind-expanding places.
That's a testament to the power of curiosity and the joy of discovery. And it's a reminder that there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to wonder about.
So to our listener out there, we hope this deep dive has left you with a renewed sense of wonder and a deeper appreciation for the many ways we can define size. It's not just about height, weight, or even the reach of our senses. It's about the lasting impact we have on the world and the universe. Through our actions, our energy, and the light we emit.
Remember, you are bigger than you think. Embrace that power. Nurture it, and let it guide you as you navigate the vast and wondrous landscape of your existence.
And that, my friends, concludes our deep dive into the fascinating question of human size. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and emerged with a fresh perspective on your place in the universe. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep reaching for the stars.